It's early fall, 605 BC, in the city of Jerusalem. A young boy, around 14 years old, sits on a bench in the courtyard of his parents' palatial estate. A leather pack stuffed with food and clothing lies at his feet. Mom sits on the bench next to him, her arm protectively draped across his shoulder. The boy knows she's fighting back tears. Normally he'd shrug off her embrace. He's basically a man at this point, right? But today, the youth let her arm stay right where it was. He was too scared to even care. Across the cobblestone courtyard, Dad is talking with several menacing-looking soldiers. Their armor and armaments are foreign. They are not Jewish men. Dad's hands swing back and forth, pleading, but to no avail. The soldiers brush past him and begin to walk straight toward the bench. Mom's tears begin to flow in earnest at this point, and a muffled moan escapes her lips. But she soon stands proudly, pulling the boy up off the bench with her. He drops his eyes to the smooth stones beneath his feet. 4 armored boots soon arrive, and the youth feels a rough hand grab the scruff of his neck. He reaches for his travel bag just in time as he's quickly shoved across the courtyard. And just like that, Daniel has been taken prisoner by the Babylonian Empire.
Welcome back. I am John Flagg, and this is the Lucifer Project series. Now, if you've been watching any of our episodes, you know that we like to talk about the interaction between science and the Bible. And I'm excited to tell you that going forward, we're going to have quite a few episodes ahead. We make a little twist to that formula, and we're going to be looking at Old Testament prophecies. I'm talking Daniel, Zechariah, Isaiah, that type of thing. And we're going to be looking at what did the prophets say was going to be happening, and then what do archaeological and historical records show actually happened. Now, off the top, that sounds a little bit dull, and when I first started researching this myself, I was not that excited about it. Boy, was I wrong. I cannot tell you how mind-blowing some of these prophecies are. Not necessarily what they said, but the implications of what they said. And that's where I think we're going to be diving in, because the history is kind of pretty well established and pretty set. We'll let you guys know what it is, so you can make your own determination, know whether the prophets are right or wrong. But the implications of what they said that just blow me away. We're going to be getting into areas on this podcast I honestly never thought we would, because the prophets are kind of forcing us to. We're going to be talking about some things you probably never even heard of, things like replacement theology. We're going to be talking about kingdom now and dominion theology, the 7 mountain mandate. We're going to be talking about end times. We got to go there. We're going to go into that book of Revelation type stuff. And then these 2 words that really kind of explode within the Christian community, the rapture. So we're going to be getting into all of it like we love to do on this channel. There's going to be mic drop moments. There's going to be moments that challenge maybe your theology. There's going to be moments that challenge your understanding of the Bible. And if you're a non-believer, there might even be challenges ahead to your spirituality. So, man, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm super excited to be back. All these series, and obviously we're starting with Daniel. Now, what's interesting here, I'll just tell you a little story. One of my favorite prophecies in the Bible is Daniel's 70 weeks. And I just thought, boy, that'd be a great way to start this whole series. But as we're doing our research on Daniel's 70 weeks, it became pretty clear that, we need to know exactly when Daniel wrote the book of Daniel. Because as it turns out, there's this massive controversy about when the book was actually written. So I was like, okay, we have to put Daniel's 70 weeks on the shelf for a second, and we got to figure out when was Daniel written. So let's do our first podcast on the dating of the book of Daniel. And then wouldn't you know it, going through that, I'm like, well, wait a minute, how the heck did Daniel, as you see in that beginning intro video, how did Daniel end up in Babylon of all places? He's a Jewish man. How did he end up living his whole life in Babylon? And so we decided, you know what, let's just start with that. This is going to be a short little video, mostly just educational. How did the prophet Daniel go from Jerusalem to Babylon? And that's what we're going to do now.
Mankind recovers an abandoned, otherworldly spacecraft, answering the age-old question, do aliens exist? When military forces capture an inbound signal from deep space, it appears someone, or something, is returning. A long hidden web of lies and deceit begins to unravel at a Vatican observatory as a mysterious group guides the signal toward Earth. The Lucifer Project series is available on Amazon and where great books are sold. Visit theluciferproject.com for more information.
All right, so again, we're answering this question, how did Daniel get into Babylon? So We're going to start back at around 931 BC. Just to remind you guys that following King Solomon's death, Israel split into two nations. We have the northern kingdom of Israel, we have the southern kingdom of Judah. The why, it's complicated, but basically the northern kingdom kind of felt like the stepchild to the fancy pants people down in the south. They felt like they were overtaxed for what they were getting. There was this whole succession issue after Solomon died. They couldn't resolve all this. The nation split. So we have this small nation of Israel, and we'll make Judah blue. And little Judah is kind of like down here. That's probably even bigger than it really was. But there you go. There's Israel and Judah. Now, Judah is going to be the focus of much of our conversation today. So just really quickly, what did happen to Israel? We're going to talk about this empire called the Assyrians. Now, back centuries and centuries before what we're talking about here, these guys were the big dogs. You know, they ruled something like this. It doesn't matter. So that's like the Assyrian Empire back in its heyday. But at this time frame, as we move forward, centuries and centuries of combat and warfare, they're more like this. So there's your Assyrian Empire, and of course, they kind of shared a border with Israel. Two of them get into it. 722 BC, Israel is basically wiped off the face of the earth. We call them now the 10 lost tribes. They're wiped out by the Assyrian Empire, and for all intents and purposes, that's the end of Israel as we know it until 1948. If you watched our Trump Cyrus Jewish temple coin video, you know the history about that one. So I would encourage you, if you want more information on that, go watch that video. It really gets into this a little more. So at this stage, we have no more Judah. This is 722 BC now. We have no more Israel. All that's left is Judah. So now we're going to fast forward a little bit more. We're going to go from 722 BC to 605 BC. So let's lay the stage, the setting where we are now. So, okay, we're going to turn Egypt yellow. So here's Egypt. At this point in time, the Assyrian Empire has fallen, you know, give or take. There's the kingdom of Egypt. They're super famous. They're super wealthy. Everything's going well for them. In fact, so well that they've added to their territory. They've gone up like this into what we kind of call the Levant today. It's Jordan, Lebanon, Israel, up into Syria. Great, great farmland. It's land everybody wants, the land of milk and honey. Everybody wants it. Egypt's got it. Okay? I think we've made Assyria black. Here's what's left of these guys. They're really fallen at this point. They do have a little bit of land left, the Assyrian Empire, so they're still around, but they have been greatly weakened. Now, next to the east of Egypt, we have the Babylon Empire. And the Bible calls them gold, so we're going to make them a gold color. And here they are, give or take, modern day Iraq. And just to complete the setting here, we'll make these guys red. We have this empire called the Medes. And I'm butchering this, but they're give or take right there. So what's happening? Well, the Medes, they really want the Assyrian land next to them. They don't like having them there on their doorstep, so they want to get rid of them. Babylon really wants the Levant. Again, that's Jordan, Lebanon, Israel. They want that. It's great land. They want it. And they don't like how Egypt is kind of increasing their sphere of influence. So you can see war brewing. The Assyrians up there, the guys in black, they're like, oh man, we're not going to survive this. So they wisely go to the Egyptians and they're like, hey, can we become a vassal state? Let's stop fighting. We'll become, you know, basically a prisoner, but a vassal state of yours if you protect us. Egypt says yes. So now what we have is two territory alliances. We have Egypt and Assyria allied together. We have Babylon and the Medes, and they both say, well, you know what? Hey, we both have similar goals at this point. We want to wipe out the Assyrians and we want to wipe out the Egyptians. So why don't we come together too? So they ally. And so all this comes to a head. We'll make it pink. Right there. There's a little area called Carchemish, and there's a giant battle in 605 BC. That battle does not go well for the Assyrians or the Egyptians. And for all intents and purposes, the Assyrians are gone at this point. Our guys, the Medes in red, are able to continue on, and they kind of take all that area up there. They're very happy. I'm going to take out the battle there. And our boys, the Babylonians, they really make out well here. Egypt is forced to go back down to the Levant and just go back to the Nile area, kind of where their capital is. And they leave that whole Israel, Lebanon, Jordan, all that, it's all empty. And Babylon moves in. So what gets, their troops are already up there. And so they start coming down the Mediterranean coastline right down into where little Judah is. And the king of Judah at this time is a guy named Jehoiakim. And he sees the writing on the wall. This is not going to go well for us. We're this little dinky nation surrounded by this massive nation of Babylon who just came off a huge victory against Egypt, this giant world power. There's no way we're surviving this. So Jehoiakim says, all right, Nebuchadnezzar, you're the leader of Babylon. Hey, don't kill us. We'll become a vassal state. We'll pay you tribute every year. Let us live. And I love this. Nebuchadnezzar is like full-on mobster. He comes in and says, okay, sure, that's fine. You can become a vassal. You pay me tribute. But I don't trust you. So we're going to go mobster style on you, and we're going to take people from your kingdom. That way you don't ever rebel. And so who they take is the large part, the ruling class of Israel. They take the kind of the big people, the big politicians, the rich people. That way, if Jehoiakim ever were to rebel, there's nobody who can take over. Excuse me, if Jehoiakim rebels and then Babylon's able to kill him, there's nobody left to kind of rebel again because they're all gone. They do the same thing with the kids of the famous people. They're like, hey, we don't want you rebelling against us, so we're going to take your children of your rich and fancy pants people. All you politicians, all your rich people, all your elites, we're going to take a kid from your household. Total mobster style. And we're going to make them grow up in Babylon so that you never rebel against us. And so who gets caught up in this? That's right, our boy Daniel. Daniel was clearly from some relatively elite household. Was his dad a prince? We don't really know, but he was clearly wealthy enough that he could be in this position. The Bible says, the Bible and Flavius Josephus talk about these being youths that were taken, tend to be between the ages of 12 and 16. I think the general consensus is Daniel was probably 14 at the time. And so the Babylonians come in, and the Jewish nation has no choice. They let them take these children hostage. And so Daniel gets sent over to Babylon, answering our question, how the heck did the prophet Daniel end up in Babylon? There's your answer. Guess who else went with him? Remember those guys? These are their Babylonian names. Do you remember those guys, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Yeah. They were also coming or taken at that exact same time. So there's your history lesson on how Daniel ended up in Babylon. The estimates are between a couple dozen and maybe 100 kids, or maybe 200 kids got taken. It wasn't like thousands of children were taken, but as low as a couple dozen up to a couple hundred maybe were sent 605 BC from Jerusalem all the way to Babylon. Hope you enjoyed it. Super quick video today. Keep an eye out for our next one, which is, when was the book of Daniel actually written? You wouldn't believe it's a massive controversy.